There are hearts that feel louder in silence than in conversation. Souls that do not crave the hum of crowded rooms, the laughter echoing between walls, or the constant rhythm of shared voices. They find a strange kind of peace in solitude, a peace that others may mistake for loneliness. Yet, within that quiet, there exists a universe of thought, memory, and reflection that few can see. It is not always shyness that keeps people away from gatherings, nor is it disdain for others. Sometimes it is simply the exhaustion of pretending to be what one is not. The effort to align one's heartbeat with the pulse of a noisy room can feel like an invisible labor, unseen, unacknowledged, but deeply draining. To avoid is not always to reject. Sometimes it is to protect. There are moments when the human mind becomes overwhelmed by the presence of too many emotions in one space. The laughter, the conversations, the subtle performances of confidence and charm, they create a storm for those who sense everything too deeply. Some people feel not only their own discomfort, but also the subtle undercurrents of others. The tension beneath small talk, the forced smiles, the restless eyes searching for approval. To them, social events are not gatherings. They are emotional landscapes filled with unspoken noise. Human beings are social by nature, yet not all are built for constant connection. Some seek meaning in silence, where thoughts breathe freely without interruption. They do not flee from people. They simply seek refuge from the chaos that surrounds them. Their withdrawal is not rejection, but recovery from the overstimulation of a world that rarely pauses. In modern society, where extroversion is celebrated as confidence, the quiet soul often feels misunderstood. The one who avoids parties, declines invitations, or disappears early is often seen as cold, distant, or broken. Yet what others see as avoidance may simply be the act of preservation. For some, social events are not moments of joy, but tests of endurance, a challenge to maintain composure amid noise that feels endless. They know the script too well, the questions, the small talk, the polite laughter, and beneath each exchange lies the weight of expectation. To appear interested, to respond quickly, to seem happy. It is not that they cannot do it, they simply tire of performing. For every smile they give, a part of them quietly fades into silence. There is a psychology behind this retreat, not of fear, but of sensitivity. The introverted mind absorbs stimuli differently. What might energize one person drains another. While some thrive on external energy, others replenish within. Their solitude is not an absence of life, but a different way of living it. Some people carry within them a quiet storm, a current of thought that never rests. When placed among many, this current becomes tangled in noise, losing its natural flow. In solitude, it calms, becoming clear, coherent, almost sacred. This is why silence feels like oxygen to them. It restores what the world consumes. It is a paradox. To desire connection, yet need distance. To love people yet feel heavy in their presence. This tension defines many who avoid social gatherings. They care deeply, sometimes too deeply, and that depth comes with a cost. Each interaction requires them to manage not only their words, but their energy, emotions, and invisible defenses. The truth is, not everyone finds belonging in crowds. Some find it in thought, in art, in the company of their own reflection. Their connections are rare but profound. Their conversations fewer but deeper. They do not measure friendship by frequency, but by understanding. There are those who feel more seen in silence than in attention, more understood by a single quiet glance than by a room full of voices. Their form of communication is subtle, a nod, a pause, a shared stillness that speaks more than words ever could. They are not absent from the world, they simply engage with it differently. Psychologically, this avoidance can be traced to the way the brain processes emotion. For highly sensitive individuals, the amygdala, the part responsible for emotional regulation, reacts more strongly to external stimuli. Crowds, bright lights, overlapping voices, all become magnified experiences. To the sensitive mind, such intensity is not joy but overwhelm. The nervous system interprets it as threat, even if the conscious mind knows it isn't. So, withdrawal becomes instinct, not intention. Yet the world often misunderstands this. Society has long valued expression over introspection, visibility over presence. To be quiet is seen as to be disconnected. But in truth, silence can hold more awareness than speech ever could. Avoiding social events, then, is not about disconnection. It is about conserving meaning. there is also the weight of self-awareness. Some individuals are hyper-conscious of how they appear, what they say, and how they are perceived. Every gesture feels amplified, every word analyzed. This constant self-monitoring turns simple interaction into emotional labor. It's not that they dislike people, they fear misalignment. The subtle feeling of being out of rhythm with the world. They live in two realities, one internal, one external. The internal world is rich, layered, and infinite. The external one feels fleeting and demanding. To move between the two is exhausting, so they choose one, the internal. They withdraw, not from life, but into it, into the depth that others rarely touch. There are also those whose avoidance stems from past experiences. The quiet rejection, the unnoticed presence, the feeling of being in a room yet unseen. Each of these moments leaves a mark, shaping how one perceives future connections. Over time, the brain learns that solitude feels safer than social exposure. What was once choice becomes pattern, and what was pattern becomes identity. Still, avoidance is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is the absence of connection. Avoidance is the protection of it. The one who avoids still longs for belonging, but on terms that feel genuine. They do not fear people, they fear pretense. They do not dislike gatherings, they dislike noise that drowns meaning. The psychology of avoidance is also tied to control. In solitude, one can manage their environment, the volume, the pace, the emotion. In social spaces, that control dissolves. Others' moods, energies, and expectations invade like waves. For some, this unpredictability is thrilling. For others, it's chaos. And so they seek the only peace they know, the stillness of their own company. Time behaves differently in solitude. It stretches, breathes, and allows reflection. There is no pressure to perform, no fear of saying the wrong thing. The mind, free from external observation, begins to return to itself. Thoughts once fragmented become whole. This inner repair is invisible to others, but essential to those who withdraw. And yet there is guilt, the guilt of saying no, of declining invitations with fabricated excuses, of knowing others might misunderstand. This guilt is a quiet companion to those who avoid. They do not wish to hurt anyone. They simply cannot always meet the emotional demand of presence. The guilt is not for the absence, but for the misunderstanding it creates. Some might call it social anxiety, but it is often deeper than that. It's emotional fatigue. The fatigue of constantly decoding unspoken cues, adjusting tone, reading faces, maintaining composure. Every event becomes a stage where authenticity battles expectation. The aftermath feels like depletion, as though one's emotional reserves have been silently drained. To avoid, then, is to heal, to preserve energy for the moments that truly matter, to give one's presence meaning instead of dispersing it endlessly. Those who avoid are not hiding. They are choosing their moments of exposure carefully. They understand that not every space deserves their openness, not every crowd deserves their truth. There is also an existential layer. In solitude, people often confront themselves, their fears, regrets, and longings. Social events, in contrast, distract from this confrontation. For the introspective mind, that distraction feels hollow. They prefer to face their silence rather than flee from it. This is not avoidance of people. It is communion with the self. At its core, avoidance can be an act of self-respect. To withdraw from spaces that demand emotional compromise is not weakness, but wisdom. It is the recognition that connection without authenticity is emptiness disguised as belonging. The quiet ones know this. They understand that not all togetherness heals. Some wounds only close in solitude, but even the solitary soul carries longing. The longing to be understood without words. The wish for someone who sees their silence not as absence, but as presence. For in every person who avoids social events lies a paradoxical desire to be alone, yet not forgotten. Human psychology is layered with contradictions. The same mind that avoids crowds yearns for understanding. The same heart that resists attention craves recognition. The tension between isolation and connection defines the human condition itself. Some navigate it with conversation, others with withdrawal. Both are searching for peace, only through different paths. Avoidance, then, is not a flaw. It is a form of adaptation. It reflects how deeply one feels, how carefully one navigates emotion. Those who avoid have often mastered the art of self-containment. They carry worlds within, quietly, without needing them to be seen. Their silence is not emptiness. It is fullness contained. And yet, beneath it all, lies the universal truth. Every human being wants to belong, even those who hide from belonging. The difference is not in the desire, but in the tolerance for noise. Some find belonging in the crowd. Others find it in the quiet understanding of a single soul. There comes a time when the quiet one begins to see that solitude and connection are not opposites but companions. That true connection begins where noise ends, in the stillness where one dares to be unmasked. To avoid, then, is not always to escape the world, but to seek it more deeply in its most honest form. For those who live in silence, the world may seem distant, but perhaps they are closer to truth than most, for they have learned that peace is not found in applause, but in alignment. They may stand apart, but they do not stand empty. In their solitude, they hear the language of thought, the rhythm of emotion, the pulse of existence itself. In a world that celebrates noise, choosing silence is an act of quiet rebellion. And within that rebellion lies a deep understanding of what it means to feel, to exist, and to be whole, even when unseen. There is a moment, often unnoticed, when avoidance turns into a kind of language, a silent way of saying, "This world moves too fast for me." It is not resentment, not even fear. It is an unspoken acknowledgement of difference. Some people are built to listen before they speak, to observe before they join, to feel before they move. In a society that demands constant participation, this quiet refusal becomes an act of self-preservation. To step away from social gatherings is to step toward one's own truth. The silence that follows is not hollow, it hums with reflection. The mind begins to expand inwardly, exploring places that conversation never reaches. There one begins to notice how the noise of others often drowns the voice within. For the ones who avoid, this retreat is not isolation, it is restoration. The human psyche seeks equilibrium. When overstimulation tilts the balance, avoidance becomes a natural correction. The brain withdraws from chaos to restore clarity. Just as the body needs sleep, the mind needs silence. Those who often avoid social events may simply be responding to that unspoken need, a biological rhythm misunderstood as emotional distance. In that silence, the self becomes audible again. One hears their own thoughts without interruption, their emotions without disguise. They start to recognize the subtle patterns of their feelings, how certain energies lift them and others exhaust them. This awareness is both gift and burden. Once a person becomes conscious of how environments affect them, they can no longer move through life unconsciously. They must choose carefully where to go, whom to see, how long to stay. Every decision becomes an act of emotional budgeting, and yet there is melancholy in this awareness. For though solitude heals, it can also isolate. The ones who avoid often watch life unfold at a distance. The laughter of others, the shared moments, the fleeting togetherness. They are both witnesses and wanderers, belonging everywhere yet nowhere. Inside, they carry a quiet ache, the desire to be part of something without losing themselves within it. Human beings crave belonging, but belonging means different things to different souls. For some, it is a crowded room filled with laughter. For others, it is a single conversation where silence feels safe. The psychology of avoidance reveals not a lack of desire, but a higher standard for connection. Those who withdraw often do so because they crave depth, not quantity, but quality, not presence, but understanding. In the stillness of their own company, they learn that connection is not limited to people. It can exist with music, with memory, with thought itself. They form intimate relationships with moments, the scent of rain, the rhythm of breathing, the softness of dusk. While others chase attention, they chase alignment. While others perform, they reflect. Theirs is not a rejection of the world, but an alternate way of living in it, slower, quieter, deeper. The mind that avoids social events is not fragile. It is finely tuned. It notices what others overlook, the tremor in a voice, the flicker in an eye, the tension in laughter. This sensitivity, though beautiful, can be exhausting. To feel everything is to carry invisible weight. So they protect themselves by choosing silence over stimulation. What appears as distance is often deep care. Care for their own balance, care for authenticity, care for peace. There is also the subtle fear of disconnection within connection. When one stands among many and still feels unseen, the loneliness cuts deeper than solitude ever could. For those who feel too deeply, the emptiness of shallow company is unbearable. It is easier to be alone than to feel alone among others. Avoidance, then, is not fear of people. It is fear of hollowness, Society rarely celebrates this type of sensitivity. Productivity and sociability are praised, while reflection is mistaken for sadness. But there is strength in this quiet way of being. It takes courage to choose depth in a world obsessed with speed. It takes awareness to know when one's soul needs silence. It takes wisdom to step away, not out of bitterness, but out of understanding. Those who avoid are not against connection. They are waiting for authenticity. They seek the kind of exchange where both minds rest, not race. Where silence between words feels alive, not awkward. Where presence feels effortless, not earned. Their avoidance is not a wall, but a filter. One that separates what depletes from what nourishes. And beneath all of it lies one timeless truth. Solitude is not the absence of love. It is the foundation of it. To be alone is to learn how to return to oneself. To understand one's rhythm before merging with another's. The ones who avoid social events are often those who have understood that peace within is worth more than approval outside. In the end, their psychology reveals something profoundly human, that every person carries a threshold for connection. Some can swim endlessly in the sea of others. Some must return to shore to breathe. Neither is superior. Both are human responses to the same need, to find peace within chaos. So perhaps those who avoid are not broken or strange. Perhaps they are simply tuned to a quieter frequency, one that society forgets to listen to. They remind us that stillness is not emptiness, that distance is not rejection, and that solitude can be the purest form of self-understanding. For in the end, every human being, whether loud or quiet, social or solitary, is searching for the same thing. A place where they can exist without pretending, connect without performing, and be seen without speaking. And sometimes, that place exists not in the crowd, but in the calmness of one's own silence.